How do I know which one is an index fund? I just opened a Roth IRA with Vanguard. Cool. Okay. I just literally talked about Vanguard, so I can just pull that up. How do you know if this is in mutual funds? I'm going to pull that up here and then I can show you. It's a quick tutorial because I literally just talked about this. So if you had to start over, let me do this. Do a search, say Vanguard index funds. Okay. And then you go to just click on the first one. It doesn't matter what, and it's going to give you all kinds of stuff, right? And it's going to teach you what an index fund is. But when you go in there, just browse index funds. Okay. Remember, index funds are not necessarily mutual funds, they can be ETFs as well. So ETFs act like stocks, but they're also like a basket of stocks or a basket of bonds, whatever, or maybe a mix of two. Mutual funds are traded after the stock market's closed, so they act a little differently. But when you go in here, you go to filter, there's the filter. When you go there, you can go to management styles, make sure index is selected, okay? So that tells you that all the funds that are showing you right now are index funds. You know, if you're into ESG or total market ETFs all in one, you can go in there and take a look. But the primary thing is here, just click on index, which is on the left-hand side. Asset class, so stocks, fixed income, money market, balanced, sector and specialty. You can click on stocks, you can click on US stocks, maybe growth or value, doesn't matter. So when you go in there, and it's gonna tell you, oh, look at this, S&P 500 index Emerald shares. You can also do the comparisons. So like, I wanna compare this. Ooh, I don't know. Let's pick another one. Growth Index Fund Emerald shares. Let me take a look. Oh, there's a VYM and maybe something else I want to compare. Okay. And just click on compare. You get to kind of take a look and see what they do. By the way, did you know that over 50% of Americans who make over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck? So is it always an income problem or a spending problem? If you're having trouble figuring out your budget, I encourage you to download a budgeting app called YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. That's right. Whether you make $50,000 a year or $300,000 a year, every one of you needs to create a budget to achieve financial independence. You need to give every dollar a job so that you can be more intentional with your savings and spending. You can get a free trial without any credit card information by using the link in the description below. So you have VFIAX, that's an S&P 500 index fund, asset class equity. So that one is large blend. So that's a blending between growth and value stocks. Okay. Now, on the right side, you're going to see VIGAX, that is growth index fund. And then the far right one, that's VYM, high dividend yield ETF. And it's going to tell you the expense ratio at 0.04%, 0.05, and 0.06. Those are all really cheap, right? And NAV is net asset value. So right now, the S&P 500 is trading at $484 per share, and then $177 a share for the VIGAX, and then VYM is trading at $120 a share. Now it changes in NAV. That's just telling you what the changes are in the last day or so. Ask and bid, you're only going to see that with ETFs because they're just like individual stocks. And you can look at like the average annual performances between these. I wouldn't choose based on which one performs the best. You can always like kind of do some more research on between these funds. Maybe this one is outperforming the other one. Maybe this one has high growth and you're like, I don't know if that's going to be the same way in the next 10 years, 5 years. You can always find something that you feel more comfortable with. And I can't tell you what you need to do, right? You need to do your own research. You can look at the 10 largest holdings. If you look at between VFIAX and VIGAX, the top 10 holdings are very, very similar, with the exception of number 8. It's Berkshire Hathaway versus Eli Lilly. Berkshire Hathaway, I understand they took it out of VIGAX because that's more of a value stock. Eli Lilly, oh, it's still on there. Okay, so they took that out. Broadcom, and then so VIGAX has, interestingly, they have Visa and Tesla, and it should tell you how many stocks are in each of these mutual funds too. And now if you look at VYM, right? VYM is different from the other index funds because it says what? JP Morgan Chase, ExxonMobil, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Home Depot, all of those stocks. And they're not growth stocks, but it's called a high dividend yield ETF because they only track the companies that pay high dividends. Okay. How much dividends are considered high dividends? I'm guessing these all paid around 3% or higher. And if you want to know what the dividend rate is going to be, oh, it looks like it's 2.86% trailing 30 days. That's what it means, okay? And look at S&P 500 index fund. It pays you 1.35% in annual dividend rate. And then for the growth one, it only pays you 0.46%. So keep that in mind. This is more of a growth company mutual fund. So that's how you can kind of look at it and like, all right, this is pretty good. And this is how I would going forward. Somewhere in here should tell you how many stocks are in each mutual fund. S&P 500 companies, right? Sometimes it'll say 505, 506, whatever, however many that might be. And there you go. Maybe fund characteristics. Nope. Fees and minimum. Nope. Oh, okay. Oh, this is gonna be pretty big too. There's a minimum investment amount with Vanguard. You don't have that with Schwab and Fidelity. If you want to invest in the S&P 500 index fund with Vanguard, you need to start with $3,000. And then after that, it's $1 at a minimum. So that is the initial amount. Looks like it's the same thing with the VIGAX. VYM, there's no minimum. You just need to buy the shares, right? So if it's a one share of 120 bucks, then minimum is 120. I don't know if Vanguard has fractional shares. Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know. I only have a few accounts with them. But yeah, that's how you want to take a look at it and how you can compare index funds. I'm not telling you what you should invest, but when you do the research, you really need to kind of go in there and read about it, okay? Don't just blindly invest. And a lot of people lose their money because they invest in something they don't understand. It doesn't matter what it is. You ever wonder why people in the comment section, they're like, oh, I invested in S&P 500, but it's giving me a negative 20% return. This was in 2022, you know, when I was making these videos. And I'm like, do you even understand what S&P 500 is? Or you just kind of put money in there, not understanding what the long-term projection is going to be, or maybe the historical return, right? And people just kind of, it was a bad year too, back in 2022, because a lot of people who started investing in January 2022, they really lost their money. They lost a lot of money, like 20%, 30%, 40%. And they just kind of stopped investing because of that fear of losing more money. And it's really unfortunate, but if you take the time to kind of read through all of the index funds, ETFs, what they do, how they do it, you're going to be a better investor.